Vanguard rides again. Welcome back to the Vanguard Warrior YouTube channel. We're back on the grind. We're back to trying to get things done. Doing what we gotta do. And the reason the fire's been lit under me recently is because of recent events. There's a certain content creator that I've been following for a while that in many ways he's been one of my biggest inspirations, and just how authentic he is inspired me to be as authentic as possible. And that is Eric July, aka Young Ripper 59. And recently he released something called the Rippaverse, his take on comic books. And if anyone knows Eric July, they know that his political views aren't, let's say, the most mainstream. Eric July is what you call a libertarian. And as a result, he believes in freedom over all else. And when I say freedom, I don't mean as in like just, you're free to say what you please and, typical, freedom of speech and freedom of religion and all that. Like, yeah, he believes in that stuff too, but he believes in freedom to the point that the central government should practically not exist. Like, he believes the federal government should have almost zero power over our personal lives. And as a result, he's taken a stand against what he sees as the old guard, or at least gatekeeping within the entertainment industry. And he believes this gatekeeping is mainly put forth by liberals. And that's why he often speaks out against SJW, material. And I myself am not the biggest fan of SJW material. I mean, one of the thing that made him the standard he's most known for, his coda, is he talks a lot about tokenism, or the idea of taking traditionally white characters and turning them black. Something that I myself was never a fan of, because I grew up on the old, the comics I read when I was coming up were from the 80s and 90s. So when he would speak about how comics were always very diverse, I could agree with him, because the comics I read from the 80s and 90s were pretty diverse. I mean, one, he got the Milestone universe, which gave birth to the ever popular Static. And Static Shock was like the black superhero. I've read the actual Static comic in addition to watching the show, and it was a great comic. Great character, and an original black character, and akin to Spider-Man, but still an original character. So when you take a character like Miles Morales, I agreed a lot with Eric July that this character was not very interesting, beyond the fact that they were a black version of a traditional white character. So Rippa, recently, young Rippa, well, he's always been in the entertainment industry, by the way, for a while. He has a music, a metal band called Backwards. And, Backwards, sorry. Backwards. And he's always been in the entertainment industry in the first place. But recently he made a project, and people keep calling it a fan-funded project, but it isn't. He took the model of crowdfunding and he kind of adapted it into... He kind of adapted the optics of a crowdfunding model and used it for his already funded comic book to show how many comics and issues had been purchased and that kind of thing. I backed that shit almost immediately. Within the first hour it went live, I was there giving him my money. I was like, take my money. Because what he wants to do, I believe, is great. He wants to make a comic book company that is going to have diverse characters and diverse voices without preaching anything over your head and making that the starting point of these characters. Just no, this is a diverse, interesting universe. And he also wants to create a cohesive, coherent timeline, which is a big problem with many of these current universes. So, all that sounds great. And, customer service is like his number one, line in his code of ethics. And you would think this is good news. You would think everyone's excited, but no. Traditional media, the comic journos, as you would call them, because comic journalism, whatever. Comic journalism has been swirling in the freaking sink for a while now, but whatever. I've been complaining about comic journalism even before I complained about comic books. Like, I was like, comic journalism is probably some of the worst, most low effort journalism I ever saw in my life. But that's besides the point. He's kind of getting maligned, like very maligned about this. And even fellow black independent creatives are maligning him because Eric July is black. Are aligning him about it. You see how that came so far? You see how I spoke so much about Eric July without mentioning his race whatsoever, and it didn't even cross my mind to mention it? Very interesting, right? But other black creatives are giving him a lot of trouble and for being he's aligned with certain conservative, you know, people and characters, and it just happens that these people support his message, and they are giving him media exposure. So this got me really thinking. It's like, as a black person, you're kind of forced into this ideological bubble, and you can't get out of it. And when you do get out of it, you're called all sorts of derivative names like Sambo and Uncle Tom. Like, you're supposed to have a set amount of political views, and I believe it's even worse in the creative industry. In the creative industry, you're seen as and when I say creative industry, I mean like as a writer, actor, anything. You're seen as a representation of the black race, like the black monolith, and you must put on a good show, or you are giving the black monolith a bad name. So they get really mad when you're not espousing the correct political views. And, I just feel like it's just very, it resembles the crab in a bucket pathology that people talk about, where it's like the moment you achieve some level of success, there are people holding you down because maybe the way you did it isn't akin to the way they did it. And it's like they're giving you trouble when they should be proud of you. They should be happy. As Eric July says, they should be happy that you're doing great, and they should want to be great themselves. But I mean, like I said, his recent success lit a fire under me. I was happy to see someone being great, made me want to be great, and I decided to take my content production much more seriously. I decided to, work harder, produce more, just do things, just get going, get the ball running, make rubber hit the road. I just want to actually achieve the things that I have written down on my little vision board. You can't see it, but it's right over there. And it's even this morning, I was starting to get kind of let's say down in the dumps, because I was thinking in my head if I'd actually managed to achieve the things that I wanted to achieve. And then I remembered, I was like, no, you've produced across the 2 channels you've created about 10 videos so far. And it's like you weren't even paying attention as you were doing. You were just working and doing what you had to do. And I was like, great, I'm that much closer to my ultimate goal. So, Eric July, thank you for inspiring me. And you're a great man. And I hope to become a great man one day myself. Vanguard out.